Before he had the briefing, Donald Trump said that this was, quote, a political witch hunt. So I just want to be very clear on two specific points. Does he now accept, because you say, well, this has been going on for years, never to this extent, never the hacking and dissemination of emails, and you can argue as to whether they were in some way were complicit in it because of their weaknesses, that we've never had this kind of dissemination before. Does he accept that the Russians were behind this hacking campaign? Yes or no?
Well, sure. I mean, he's not denying that entities in Russia were behind this particular hacking campaign. But let me just respond to your point, though. You say never have we had such a massive. Yeah, but here's what we have. We have the DNC as a sitting duck. So if you have a person wait a second, Chris, because it matters to your point. It matters because if the DNC allows any foreign entity into their system and says, here's 50,000 emails, you can have them. Well, voila. Now you have the biggest dissemination of emails that we've ever seen in the history of America.
Well, who do you blame more for this?
Who
do you blame more for this, Reince? Do you blame Putin and the Kremlin, or do you blame the DNC? Who's the primary actor here?
First, listen, the primary actor is the foreign entity that's perpetrating the crime to begin with.
Which was?
No doubt about it, Chris. I'm not denying that.
Which was?
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying it.
And what was that foreign entity?
What I'm saying is Russia. But what I'm telling you is that we also have a situation where you have people at the DNC. Let me ask you this. Anyone listening out there, if you had multiple calls from the FBI and you said, by the way, Chris, this is the FBI, I think someone is in your system and stealing all of your emails, and you ignore multiple calls. They attempted to attack the RNC in the same way. They didn't get into our system because, number one, we had our heads straight and we had defenses at the RNC. But number two, when the FBI called the RNC and said, hey, we've got a hacking situation here, we brought them in immediately. And so, granted, we have bad actors around the world, and cyber attacks have been happening for years. But we also have an entity that's allowed through a wide open door a foreign government into their system.
I get that. One other question.
Right.
Does President-elect Trump accept the evidence that he heard? Does he find it persuasive that Putin's interest towards the end of the campaign was to help Trump by discrediting Clinton?
I haven't asked him about that, Chris. I mean, he accepts the fact that Russia and other entities engage in cyber attacks in the United States all day long. He accepts the fact that this particular case was entities in Russia, so that's not the issue. And if you look at his statement, after he commends the intelligence community in the very first paragraph, he talks about the particular hack. He talks about the fact that the DNC was a sitting duck while the RNC had its act together. He then says in the first 90 days of his administration, he's going to order a full report as to what we can do to be better. But one of the things that we can do to be better is when the FBI calls you and says we've got a problem, you return the phone call.
Well, I want to ask you about that because he had a tweet yesterday in which he said that we want to have better relations with Russia. I mean, if he accepts the fact that they, in an unprecedented way, tried to interfere with our election, does that mean he is not going to respond? He's not going to take action against Russia?
He very well may take. He's going to order the intelligence community to make recommendations, and whatever those recommendations are will be discussed, and actions may be taken. But I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to have a good relationship with Russia and other countries around the world, and that's what the president is saying, that he's going to try to have good relationships around the world, which will put America first, bring jobs back, and make us safer across the globe. That's what he wants to do, and I think that's what he will do.
I want to pursue the question of the president-elect's relations, not with Russia, but with the intelligence community, because here was a tweet that he put out on Tuesday. The, quote, intelligence briefing on so-called, quote, Russian hacking was delayed until Friday, perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. This was the reaction from the director of national intelligence.
I think there's a difference between skepticism and disparagement.
Isn't that disparaging when the president-elect of the United States puts the word intelligence in quotes?
Well, and Mr. Clapper also stated that there is no evidence in the report that any of this changed the outcome of the election. But to your question, here's what happened. The president of the United States a week earlier, or a few days earlier, took on enormous and unprecedented sanctions against Russia. We then went into full gear to get an intelligence briefing on what the president knew that created that strong reaction, or what the briefing was that created that sudden strong reaction. And we were attempting to have that full-blown meeting on Tuesday.
I'm not asking about schedule, Reince, though.
No,
But wait a minute. I'm asking about why did he put the word intelligence in quotes?
Because I'm getting to the point. The reason he put it in quotes is that the intelligence briefing, in quotes, that we were attempting to have was going to be on Tuesday. Turns out that the report, which apparently was supposed to be done that created the Obama reaction, wasn't going to be done until Wednesday, and therefore the intelligence briefing, in quotes, that we were supposed to have on Tuesday was then, we were informed, was going to be done on Friday. So here we are having to react to these Russian sanctions stories with the media and all of you folks, and you're a good one, Chris. We were supposed to be reacting to something that we had no ability to get a briefing on because the actual report wasn't done until Wednesday. It's a frustrating situation, and that's what the president-elect was
the
referring
question
to.
is the way, the relationship that he has with the intelligence community and what even the DNI, General Clapper, saw as disparagement. I want to ask you about something else, because the president-elect this week seemed to put more credibility to believe the founder of WikiLeaks over the intelligence community. And I want to put up another tweet that the president-elect sent on Wednesday. Julian Assange said a 14-year-old could have hacked Podesta. Why was DNC so careless? Also said Russians did not give him the info. Reince, several years back, I don't have to tell you, Julian Assange disclosed hundreds of thousands of classified cables and other emails and documents that very much compromised the U.S. military in Iraq and that endangered the lives of hundreds of Afghan informants helping the U.S. military. Why would the president-elect give any credibility to Julian Assange?
Well, first of all, to your other point, he has tremendous respect for the people in the intelligence community. In his statement on Friday, there's the very first thing that he said, and he wanted to make it very clear to everyone working hard in the interest of our foreign intelligence that he appreciates them very much. As to Assange, he doesn't think this guy's a good guy. He put, in quotes, things that he had said. He didn't say, I support this guy. He didn't say, I think he's a good guy.
But why even quote him? Why give him any credibility? He's the
I think his
president-elect.
point is that, well, wait a second. I think his point is that the DNC was so lacking in any of their defenses by their own admission.
Okay, we got that. I'm just asking
perhaps
why
a
he was
14-year-old could have gotten into the. No, but perhaps a 14-year-old could have gotten into the DNC. When you have staffers opening up emails that say, you know, I'm stranded in Mali and I need $20,000, click on this link, and the DNC is clicking on these links. You know, I got to tell you something. No one thinks that Assange is a great guy. I can assure you of that. But I think the issue here is, yes, bad foreign actors, but it's also the DNC that has allowed itself to be hacked by about anyone in the world. And that is one of the reasons why this was such a big deal. And I don't think anyone's talking about it.
I want to get into one last area with you, and we're running out of time. Has President-elect Trump given up on trying to work with Democrats?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact,
well,
one of the meetings...
Can I explain to you why I'm asking the question?
Sure.
Because I'm curious as to why he sent out two tweets this week, one referring to Schumer clowns and another to head clown Chuck Schumer. Here's what Vice President Biden said this week.
Grow up, Donald. Grow up. Time to be an adult. You're president. You got to do something. Show us what you have.
How do you respond to the vice president, and why on earth call Chuck Schumer a clown? How's that going to help you?
Well, first of all, Chuck Schumer and President-elect Trump have a long, long relationship together. Donald Trump has helped Chuck Schumer in his runs for Senate. Donald Trump has had massive fundraisers for Chuck Schumer at Mar-a-Lago many times before. They have a personal relationship. And I got to tell you, I mean, when Senator Schumer says that he's going to allow the vacancy in the Supreme Court to take place as long as he wants, and he's going to hold up cabinet secretaries, and he's targeting 8 of them when only just a few short years ago it was the Democrats that were saying we needed to move swiftly to approve these cabinet secretaries. 8 cabinet secretaries were approved for President Obama on day 1. And now to turn around and say they're going to drag their feet and put people through the ringer. I mean, look, it's a frustrating situation. They're very
I just want to pick up on that.
And I think you're seeing some frustration. That's all.
Ryan, so I just want to pick up on that. We got less than a minute left because the Office of Government Ethics announced this week that it has been unable to complete background ethics checks on a number of Trump's nominees. And said it's of great concern that these confirmation hearings are going to go forward before those background checks are complete. Senator Schumer says you're trying to jam them through. Given the statement by the Office of Government Ethics, any thought of delaying the confirmation hearings for any of these nominees until the background checks are complete?
No, I mean they have to get moving. I mean they have to move faster, and they have all the information. These are people that have been highly successful in their lives. They need to move quicker. And the fact is there's no reason. I mean, it's the first week of January. They have all the details that they need. They have all the information that they need. It's no different from any other new administration coming in. And the American people demand it. Change was voted for, and change we will get.
Ryan, thank you. Thanks for your time today.